Alright guys, so here we are looking at the new project for our computer art class based on the principles of design, and the instructions are as follows: using the brush, shape, and paint bucket tools as well as some gradients possibly, create a digital painting to represent each of the design principles. Those are pattern, emphasis, contrast, rhythm, unity, movement, and balance. So we're going to make those 8 by 8 inches square and a resolution of 150 dots per inch, pixels per inch. We are also going to be thinking about doing some research, or we could also reference the images below, maybe doing a quick Google search on some of these terms to make sure you get a chance to see some other examples would definitely be a good idea as well. So essentially what we will do is go ahead and start by looking through the principles of design here. I want to just maybe take a quick scan through and see if there's any that you might be particularly more informed with and want to start with. Maybe today I will start with right at the top with balance. And so we would go ahead and start a new document in Photoshop Elements. And I've already got this set up to size, but we'll go through this all the way. And so we'll create a new file. We would make that 8 by 8 square and 150 pixels per inch, just in case we want to make these bigger at all. And I would also name it the principle of design that you are going to choose. So I'm going to name this one Balance, and I'm going to put a 1 next to it, just because I may make a few different versions and for each one of these principles to choose from at the end. So, okay, go ahead and start it up. So, a few of the tools that we will be using. One is the paintbrush tool. Another one is the paint bucket tool, the gradient tool, and the custom shape tool, or otherwise known as the shape tool in general. And so there are all these shapes that we can make right here if we click and hold on the shape tool. In the custom shape tool, you have a menu up here that gives you a bunch of fun stamps and different kinds of shapes that you can put on your design. So for instance, I could take something like this radioactive symbol right here, and I could bring it out over my workspace, and I could click and drag it to make a radioactive symbol. Now the color that this is going to end up being is whichever color is on top of your palette right here. So this is your foreground color, and this is your background color. And we'll kind of leave this as white usually, and then just click on the foreground color to change colors. And so maybe I'll add another one that is maybe violet. And remember, the name of the game on this one is balance. That is the principle of design I'm trying to work with. So I have one sign over here, symbol over here, so I might go ahead and add another one in the opposite corner, just to kind of get that going here. One thing I'm noticing is it did not change the color. So what I'm going to try to take this opportunity to use my paint bucket tool. So I'm going to click over here on the paint bucket. I do have this color selected, so it should fill these in like this, but this is what I'm noticing. I put both of these shapes, both of these shapes on the same layer, and so they are joined together. So I'm going to back up a step, and I'll create a new layer and go back to my shape tool, and I will add another shape right here. And now that it's on its own layer, it is not attached, so I can make it its own color. I can go ahead and take my move tool, and I can make that different sizes. I can make it a little bigger. Alright, and so I have a good start going here. The other tools we may want to play around with are we just saw the paint bucket tool in action. You can also use that on a wide open space, so I have a new layer here that I just created, and I'll take the paint bucket tool and maybe select a different color, one that's not purple or green, maybe something like a light blue. And I might go ahead in here and fill in that background, give that some kind of color. Alright, now another option I may do for a background, I could drop in what's called a gradient. And so that is this shift of yellow to blue color right here, and that brings up the gradient menu at the top. You have a few different options. Right here it tells you the colors that you have selected, and you can click on that and create pretty much any color combination of gradients that you want. By clicking on a color, you can see the color right here in this window, and you just click right on that and you can change that color to anything under the sun. Let's take, maybe again, I want something I haven't already used. Maybe we'll go with kind of like a light orange and fade that to, maybe I'll fade that to the light blue. So maybe I'll go over here, take that, and maybe this will be the gradient I use. If I want to kind of change the balance of colors, you can click on the diamond that is in between those colors, and I can make either one color heavier or lighter. If I want to leave that in the center right there for now, I could also click and drag the colors. And if you click on the bar right below here, where you have a finger, you can add in another color. So I can take this color and I can change this one as well. Maybe I'll make this like a darker green, just to kind of play with the idea of this gradient color shift. And there's some presets up here that you can pick from too, but if you want to make your own custom one, that is how you would do it. So I would then say OK, and then basically you just click and drag to create your gradient color area. And if I do it shorter, it will make the area in the middle shorter. If I do it longer, it will make the area much more broad and make the blending much more smooth. So I'll go with a gradient like that. Maybe I'll do just a little bit longer. Yeah, I think that works pretty good. So a gradient for the background, a few stamps, evenly shaped, balanced. You actually have some other gradient options here that I might want to point out. You have a radial gradient, which makes gradients go in a circle, and you have some that go straight up and down in different ways, reflecting and in diamonds. If that is something that tickles your fancy, you can try and play with some of those. I'm going to stick with the first regular straight gradient that we had before, linear gradient, and keep that as my background. I'm going to go ahead also and add in a few more custom shapes. Keep balancing this composition by adding even numbers of shapes on either side. What other things can I choose from? Oh, right, so maybe I will take a look, because that is not all of them. If I click on these little double arrow right here, it brings up a whole number of different menus that I can bring up. And from objects to things from nature, food, flowers, different crop shapes. Sounds interesting. So I'll check these out. Interesting. These look like some paint splatters. Maybe I'll take this crop shape, little spiral. That is pretty interesting. Maybe I will go ahead and make a new layer and maybe do another one of these down here. I might change the color of this one to something that will stand out. Maybe something more like a light yellow. Maybe go something like that. Alright, so working with balance, remember to use the whole space on your canvas and experiment with some of these different tools. And the only one left really to maybe try and look into and add some things with could be the paintbrush tool. So there's lots of fun stuff you can do with the paintbrush tool. That is this brush tool right here. You have some different options. We're going to just keep the regular brush tool. And again, you have the same menu up here that you can look at to to get some different brush options. And so some of the brush options are right here. You also have, again, the double arrow right here, brings you up with some different, oh, actually, it's right here. Different brush options in here, things from assorted to natural to dry media, lots of different things here. The pen pressure brush is really interesting. Some of these pop out different sizes, different types of designs. Symbols and things like that are in here too. I'm going to kind of keep it simple and go with maybe something like these eyeballs. This is kind of interesting, and I can make the size maybe a little bit bigger so that I can see a little bit more of what is going on. Oh, that's okay. So I have to be on a new layer other than this shape. So I'm going to say cancel. I'm going to add a new layer and see what goes on here when I do this kind of stamp brush. That's not really the way I want it to go. I'm going to try a new one. That is really interesting. I'm going to turn up the size on that to see what happens here. That is a pretty cool brush. But again, not quite what I'm looking for. You can feel free to go ahead and just start to play around though. Like I said, the brush tool is one you may want to use in here as well. If you're trying to do some of your other principles of design, maybe not for balance necessarily, but maybe you get to use some of the other tools in some of the other assignments. So have some fun, experiment with the different tools, and lastly, just make sure that you do put in the type or the word that goes with the principle of design that you are creating a drawing for. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the type tool and then add in a text box in which I will put the word balance. I'll do it all caps. You don't have to do that. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. 36. You can shrink the size of the box and maybe move it into the corner here. Like so, and you have different fonts to choose from up here in the upper left corner. Maybe I'll go with Rockwell. Good font. And maybe that's that. I liked it a little bit better when it was white, so what I'm going to do here is go ahead and change the color. And I can change that to white right up here in the top bar. Pretty familiar looking, most word processing programs. And I think that works for me. I might take my move tool and go ahead and just kind of move that so it's about equally spaced from the side and the side here. And I would save that and keep that as saved as balance 1. So so if you do happen to create another, you could save as and then call it balance 2, and then keep going on creating, and then when you have time to turn them in, maybe you have a few to choose from and turn in the one that really is the strongest one. So thanks for listening, guys, and I hope you have best of luck in making your creations.